Hi there, welcome back. Now, if you're building a business around your personal brand and your expertise, then you've probably heard people telling you should start a podcast. And there are lots of good reasons for this, but a lot of the best reasons are not the ones you think of. And I want to tell you a little bit about that today. So the kind of reasons you've probably heard are things like you need to build an audience, or a podcast is great for sales, or you'll be so influential, or it's great content. And those things are all true. They're really, really true. They're all important. But they really don't get to the heart of the real magical power of a podcast, what it can do for you in much, much wider terms, things that are much more powerful. And I'm going to run through those for you today because truly, I think they're much more motivating. So here's the thing. A lot of people start their podcasts for the wrong reason. And really understanding why you're doing it, what is this podcast for, is important. Now, if you're in the true crime genre, or if you're doing a Harry Potter podcast, then frankly, your podcast is there to entertain, and you might build a bit of business and sponsorship around this. But if you are a consultant, if you're a coach, if you're a business owner that's really looking at the podcast as a marketing venue, or a marketing platform rather, then there's a whole other range of monetization options open to you. We're not talking about monetizing your podcast today. We're talking about all the secret reasons podcasters love podcasting. So my podcast is a guest interview podcast. It's called The Personal Brand Entrepreneur Show. You search Personal Brand Entrepreneur Show in any podcast player, you will find it. Go and have a listen. It's really, really good. However, one of the things that I've discovered after speaking to nearly 200 people is that my life has changed. It's completely different. And it's not because I had great content. It's not because I've sold lots of things through the podcast. I've hardly sold anything through the podcast. It's really for a lot more subtle reasons. So the first one, I guess, is when you speak to people who are at the top of their game, you learn quite a lot. If you speak to those people again and again and again and again, that advantage becomes cumulative. It's not a small advantage. It is after one interview, maybe after 3. But after 50 or 100 interviews, the gap between your knowledge and the knowledge of your perceived competitors becomes vast. Now, there's another reason. After speaking to nearly 200 of the world's leading experts in my field, I can now call a lot of them friends. They've become my peer group, and you'll hear people talk about things like proximity is power, or your income rises to the sum of the people you spend most time with, the 5 people you spend most time with. These cliches are all true to an extent. My business is transformed, not because of what I've sold through the podcast, but through the advice and the mentorship of people who are leading the world. In addition, my own personal brand, through consistently showing up with people who are known to be leaders, my own leader brand has slowly evolved to the point where a lot of people now look at me as an industry leader, and I actually become comfortable with that, which is something I wouldn't have considered even 4 years ago. I was just little Bob sitting in a studio who nobody knew. That's just not the case anymore. And this happens cumulatively over time. I guess really what I'm talking about is the cumulative impact of all the non-tangible things. For me, they're much more powerful than the tangible out-front things. In addition to this, my confidence is completely transformed. My swagger, if you like, my ability to show up on screen and in my podcast is completely different. When I began this, I was super nervous. If you told me I would be doing YouTube videos, I would have laughed you out of the room. My clarity about who I am, what I do, and who I do it for, and that those things matter, again, is completely transformed. My knowledge is completely different. And because I've got such clarity, I can be much more disciplined about what I do and when I do it. And here's the thing, my vision of what's possible is just a whole different level of possibility. And so my ambition and my enthusiasm and my optimism and my overall mindset are completely transformed. So these are some of the reasons I love people starting podcasts. They're not about content. Although this is great. This is why we start having the conversation. But the reason I get really enthusiastic is about all these other things that the podcast brings. The connection, the conversations, the relationships, the depth of insight that these people bring to your life, the confidence, the clarity, the vision, and the enthusiasm and the optimism, and the possibility. This is the thing. It's really, on a regular basis, throwing you into the path of opportunity. All true opportunity comes through relationships. So the more you can stimulate and cultivate and nurture new relationships with amazing people who reciprocate, the better your business and the better your life will be. So this is the secret power of a podcast. These are the reasons I would really want you to start one. Everything else, it's kind of obvious, but these are the real reasons. This is the real magic. This is where it goes way beyond personal brand. Personal brand is important, but personal brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. If you start a podcast, some exciting people start talking about you, and that's the real magic. So I hope you find this useful. If you have, I would love for you to give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing. If you do subscribe, hit the bell, and that way YouTube will notify you every time I post new content. If you have enjoyed this video, then I would love you to go and watch my video about how to choose a niche, because that's something lots of people find very hard. How to choose a niche and why you should choose a niche. These are the two videos I'm going to send you to next. So my name is Bob Gentle. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.